Hello, everybody. We are back. It's Canadian Bowler Show. I am Michael Patulli, joined again by my fabulous co-host, Daryl Fitzgerald. How's it going, Daryl?
Not too bad, Mike. I guess it's one day early, but happy Halloween.
Yes. We both, in the background, debated dressing up on the stream here, but we both had very intrusive outfits that would have made for a fun time podcasting. So uh, you're lucky you just don't have Michael Myers on my end, and I think a giant pickle on Daryl's end. So
That's right.
uh, we saved you some scariness, I guess. More
Yeah.
more scariness than usual over here. Um, well, since we before we get going here, I'm just gonna send out the reminder. If you are here, please hit that like, comment, subscribe button. Any sort of interaction really does help us out, so we would appreciate any sort of support we can get. The show will be live on YouTube within the day, so if you're not able to catch it live, it will be there within the day. If you are a podcaster, we are on all major podcasting platforms within the week of the show. So if that's your jam, you can definitely check us out on there as well. So I guess we might as well get into it. There's been a few things that have gone on since our last show. Our last show was everything under the sun we had to cover because we waited a long time. And this time we got a few events that have occurred and just some other sort of talking points that we can bring up. So I think we were leading way with the most recent one that just occurred a couple of days ago. Is that right, Daryl? The Canadian Indoor?
That's right. Yeah, we can kick it off with that for sure. All right. Canadian Indoor Women's Singles. We've got the three ladies there. They got the medals: gold, silver, and bronze. First went to Linda Ng. Second went to Lorraine Choi. Third went to Jordan Koss, and not pictured here, but fourth was Vivian Chan. And on the men's side, men's singles, my man, Mike McNorton, taking home the gold. Second, David Lewis. Third, Jerome Kirby. And fourth, Heng Lee. We got a couple of the pictures. There's the two champs, Mike and Linda. And then both of them there. So, fabulous results. It's the first time in a while that Ontario has got that high, I think. If memory serves me right. So good on Mike for getting up there, and then a dominant performance by BC on the women's side as well, as you can see. And Vivian is also from BC, so good on there. What were your thoughts, Mike?
Well, it's good to see Mike McNorton get a gold medal. He's been around quite a few Canadian championships over the years, so it's very nice to see Mike win one there. I must have just had my prediction from the summer where he was supposed to win the outdoor singles off, and it was the indoor singles, just a little calibration or something like that. But no, great to see Mike pull that off. He also now gets to go represent Canada internationally. I know that's probably a big thing for him, so that's pretty cool. And it is really the last year of this format that we've had for a very long time. So again, a little sad to see it go, but it's on next year's. I think one of the good changes that's sort of coming is what they've sort of changed it to next year, where it's a little bit more of a it's going to be a little more balanced for the teams across the country rather than the current format where predominantly we're only getting really 3 or 4 provinces and then maybe a couple people from Ontario type thing. Do you have any major takeaways from the event, Daryl?
Um, Nothing too big. Obviously, there's been some posts about set play and one end tiebreakers and so on and so forth. So that's always a topic that comes up. No matter, I don't think it matters what the competition is when it's sets play, and there isn't sort of an extended tiebreaker system. Um, I don't I don't think the results would have been unbelievably different in the other way if there had been a bunch of changes to it, but you saw some familiar faces in the mix. Obviously, Linda being up there again in the mix. She's a great player for BC. Jordan, obviously, always good, and has gotten a lot of cracks at some really fast greens, so it's not surprising to see her up there. And guy like Jerome popping up. I haven't heard his name in a while, and this was kind of the first got to see him this year. And again, he's right in that mix for indoor. He's definitely turned into quite a specialist on the carpet. So yeah, good players. I think definitely deserving champions as far as the play went, and it's gonna be sad to see it go. But I think this should be kind of a kick in the butt for those that have the means or the knowledge to look at how we get indoor spread across more provinces and get that kind of game started up in Canada, because we desperately need it.
Yeah. I say the only real gripe I had with the event was a little bit to do with the formatting, because the ladies played a full round robin, and Jordan ended up going undefeated. And then for some reason, they split into a semifinal instead of a final. I don't know if I've ever seen an event that they play a full round robin and then split to a semi rather than a final. And so Jordan lost one game all week, sort of leading to what you're saying, the one and third tiebreaker, where she cumulatively is winning that game and then loses that third tiebreaker and ends up in a bronze medal game. Lost one game all week and then gets bronze. So that was sort of just more the formatting of that ladies' side is pretty goofy. So you feel bad for someone like Jordan who plays really well all week, and then obviously you lose one game and then it kind of just derails a really solid week. But again, though, taking nothing away from Linda, to defend the championship is an impressive feat to do. And Jerome got himself to a semifinal, almost defended his title as well.
Yeah.
And so he's, as you said, he's proven to be quite a specialist on the indoor, which is a good thing to see.
Yeah, the formatting's a little weird. I've heard arguments in the past, even with Canadians, where in previous formats that we've had, where we've done full round robin, nine games. Do you really want to break into semis and play people over again to get through the stuff? And same here, you play a full round robin, you should be going into medal matches. Obviously, there's a big deal with having medal matches rather than just saying, "Hey, you're top of the heap and you get a gold." But it does make for some interesting results when people go undefeated and stuff. I've been hit with that too.
So I guess a question for you. You sort of brought it up when you were talking there earlier. You talked about spreading indoor bowls across Canada. Obviously, huge hole. If we're talking about the second biggest province or biggest province in Canada, Ontario, not having traditional full-size indoor. So what do you think is sort of the main obstacles or the reasons that there hasn't ever been a full-service indoor sort of created and, I guess, took roots and sort of took off in Ontario?
I mean, I think the easy answer is money. To get a really good facility, where you let's say you have a full rink of indoor, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I know, like for instance, my club Heritage has been looking to get a new clubhouse for a long time, and I can say decades now, because our clubhouse is not the greatest. It's just two portables kind of smashed together, and we make it work. But even just getting a new clubhouse is an insane amount of money that we have to try to raise, let alone trying to put in even a half pad or a partial pad of indoor to go forward. So money's the number one, but I don't hear anybody out there that's maybe a few people that have a plan for it. So like something like a formal business plan to get things going. But then again, they need funding. And I don't think there's a lot of companies scratching to fund an indoor and get their name on it or something like that. So trying to get the market for bowls up, trying to get cities on board. If the city will back you and the province will back you, hopefully they can get something. I'm hoping Ontario will. Um, but short term, it doesn't look great for any other province. But anything in the east, I think, would help greatly just for travel. Like maybe we'd see some more Nova Scotia and Quebec and the smaller provinces dribble in if it was in the east, say up to Ontario or even Manitoba. But trying to fly out past that is always a cost, right?
Yep. No, well said. Just figured it was a good question to at least ask you because
Yeah.
you always kind of get the different answers from people, and I think the most common one, what you said, is money, and then sort of having that business plan around it because you're going to have a facility that debatably might even not even be usable in the summertime if it's an indoor lawn bowling green, right? So you kind of do have to have a business plan or some sort of usage of the facility, maybe a sharing with a different group or something like that to figure out what can actually be done with the facility when you're not bowling, because that's probably going to be at least 20-30% of the year.
Yeah, I've my argument to everybody that asks, and when I um, help people look into it or have discussions with people, it's the opportunity to have a real tipping point in even let's just say Ontario. If Ontario got an indoor, the watershed moment, the floodgates of what can happen if we get a true indoor here. Um, I don't think people will fully comprehend it because we just don't have one and nobody's actually been in it. But I think there's like just a massive opportunity for it to draw people in from a lot of places and to hold some really really big things and to make some waves here. But yeah, nobody's gonna want to give a couple $1 million to build an indoor unless you have a really good plan to keep it going, sustain it, and make sure it stays in good condition, right? So
Okay. Well, a little bit of a depressing topic, but we can move on.
yeah.
Other event that occurred slightly before this one, just a few weeks ago now, was the U.S. Open. Obviously, a very big event, North America here. Probably, I'd say the biggest event that North America has, where they draw people from all over the world. I think I was seeing the entries, people from South Africa, Europe, Australia. So you do really get players from all over the world. And I personally played in the U.S. Open, I think, 3 times, and I've had great experiences each time. It's an absolutely fantastic tournament. So I guess we can pass along some results there.
Absolutely. You want me to go through these two, Mike?
Sure.
All right. Women's fours. We're gonna go through the championship flights 1 through 4 only. There's a lot of flights on a lot of champions, so check out the Bulls USA website and Facebook to see all the results if you want to see all the winners. So women's fours championship flight. We have Elizabeth Cormack, Sun Sing Tsao, Mona Lee, and Anne Marie Gutierrez. So we have some Canadian content in there, which is really cool. Second place, Ann Nunes, Julia Gallo, Janice Bell, and Candy DeFazio. Nancy Santos, Janice Walter, Norma Goodhart, and Jane Blair come in third. And I guess they only got 3 of the 4, but in fourth place we have Flora Wright, Rita Greenberg, Margie Rambo, and Trisha Kwan. Women's pairs championship flight. First, Julia Gallo and Candy DeFazio from Southwest Division in USA. We have Melanie Vizenor and Lee Ang, both from Southwest in the US. You have Lorna Smith of Scotland and Veronica Sum coming in third. So Lorna Smith, Scotland, and Veronica Sum, USA. So a mixed team. And in fourth place, you have Sandy Wall and Martha Nilsson, both of USA. And women's singles. In first place, you have Lorna Smith of Scotland. Second place, Rose Shelby of the US. Third place, Jordan Koss from Canada. And fourth place, Pat Binney of Canada as well. Some Canadian winners in the championship flight there, which is cool. And on to the men's results. Men's fours championship flight. First place, Gavin Erasmus from South Africa, Glenn Minnar from South Africa, and Donnie Piketh from South Africa, and Gary Smith of Scotland. Many of you will know Gary Smith. He was the former chief CEO of World Bowls. So really cool to see him out there at the US Open. Second place, Peter Ritchie, Terry Marr, Dave Morrison, and Rome Williams from the US. Scotty Marzoni, Daniel Gorlick, Robin Hoy, and Frank Napoli from the US. And if you can guess where these guys are from, Pat Bird, Michel Leroux, Jurgen Fessler, and John McDonald from Canada. Men's pairs championship flight. First place, John Slater and Javier Gomez from US. Raymond Barr of Belfast, Northern Ireland, and Brian Stewart from US. John McDonald and Jurgen Fessler of Canada came in third. And in fourth, Daryl Hanoski and Bo Koss from Canada. So again, some Canadians showing up in there. Pretty cool. And we move on to men's singles. We have Lauren Dion from the US taking down the first spot. Second place, Jonathan Bernowski from the US. Third place, Terry Marr from the US. And fourth place with some stock footage, because I guess they didn't have a picture of Pat in there. So Pat Bird of Canada comes in fourth in the men's singles. And the bowlers of the event, Lauren Dion took down a bowler of the event for the men, and Lorna Smith from Scotland took down for the women, and they were both the singles winners. And there we have it, Mike. What do you think of that?
Well, it was, as you were sort of highlighting, they're quite a mixture of Canadian winners, American winners, and then people from all sorts of foreign countries. So it's very nice to see that a traveling team essentially came in and won the men's fours, and I guess a couple of the different divisions, just the mixtures of the people from different countries obviously doing well, like Raymond Barr, who played pretty good in the pairs there. I think he got second. Played against him in a couple of the US Opens. I played in myself, and he's a terrific bowler from Ireland. So it doesn't surprise me that he came back and teamed up with a pretty solid American player. But no, it's good to see the players that are there. And I think the Pat Bird, obviously fourth in the fours and the singles, pretty good showing out of Pat again. And then Michelle and Jurgen and John. I think Jurgen and John, although they were they in the championship flight? Yeah, they were. They got third. So they had a pretty good tournament too. So Jurgen and John, pretty solid showings out of both of them. So I just enjoy seeing the results and who ends up pulling them off. And in this situation, there was some live streams of the finals, people just on their phone and stuff like that. So I enjoyed actually watching the finals and sort of seeing the greens, because California, where it was hosted, they get some pretty quick greens. So it actually was pretty interesting to see the surfaces, because I've never actually seen a good portion of the California surfaces before.
Yeah, it's good to see it back and running. I think there was a time there where there was a question mark around the US Open and what was going to happen. So I'm really happy to see it back, see international players playing. I guess my hope is just for the sake of North America, that the event keeps going and actually grows. Hopefully we see more entries and more entries go in there, because it is, I mean, outside of national championships for both the US and Canada, it is the biggest as far as volume event. And we have WOBA here in Canada, but it's not as big. And we don't pull as many international players, so the US Open is it. Hopefully we see some more events pop up though. That would be cool if we could see some new open events happen, maybe a one in Canada or something really big. But yeah, so make sure you support it, everybody out there, all our viewers. If you haven't gone to the US Open or any of those events, check it out and make some plans. Have a vacation down in whether it's Arizona or California or wherever it's going. Usually it's in a nice warm spot, so you might as well take advantage.
Yeah, that's the one convenient part about the United States is they typically host it in one of the warm locales, and it's usually when the weather starts to get a little cold for us up in the north. So if you want a little respite from the beginning of a Canadian winter, it's not a bad idea to head down there and spend a little bit of money and play some competitive bowls for a week.
Oh, we got Bill McCollum in chat, already planning for the next US Open. Good on you, Bill. Hope you enjoy it. I keep trying to mark it in my calendar and never get out, but we'll see. Maybe the two beardos from the Canadian Bowler will get down there and play sometime. We'll see.
See, unfortunately for me, I almost have to throw an X on it because it's in California. Nothing specifically against California, but the logistics of getting to the greens each day is troublesome because sometimes you can be, I don't know, like say example if me and you stayed in the same room together, I'm driving you to your green, I might have to drive an hour out of my way, drop you off, and then an hour back. So if you're playing a 9 a.m. start or something like that, it could be a bit of an issue to get through some California morning commute traffic. So
that's fair.
That's my personal aversion to it. But any of the divisional opens in the US, they're terrific as well. So yeah, I'll be back to a US Open eventually. Just might be holding off for a couple of years here.
Mikey, you were part of one of those infamous shows that we post on the channel related to power rankings. You and Al firing up the masses in Canada with your picks and hot takes and where you rank people. How's the response been to the last drop of that video?
Well, it's been pretty good. I enjoy making the videos with Al. Obviously a little bit more of I don't know, just Al's going in there and giving you, as you sort of said, the hot takes or whatever you want to call it. But I enjoyed this go around because could tell Al brushed up on sort of the results from the year and really focused on the players that did very well at the Nationals this year. So if you're someone who essentially ended up with gold medals or multiple medals type of things, you were pretty high up in that list. So I was happy to see some of the adjustments that he made. And then obviously we got some positive comments and then some negative comments on it, which we like any commentary we can get because it obviously gets people talking. And if people are talking, we've accomplished what we're trying to do. So I'm not too worked up about it. And we wanted to really get it out because I think the Canadian national team's probably being announced sometime fairly soon. Usually it's around November, if I remember correctly, like early November. So we wanted to get the video out before the Canadian team was announced, just to sort of state where, well, Alex wanted to state where he thinks everyone sort of sits on the pecking order, and then see what ends up happening with the national selection, because I'm sure there's going to be some people that aren't on his list that maybe make that team, and maybe some people that are on the list that don't make the team type of thing. So it's very interesting just to sort of see where you rank people who've done very well at nationals this year, and then sort of where they get selected in regards to the national team, because you can be very successful. It doesn't always mean that you're going to be selected to be on your national team. So we've seen that lots in the past, and I think we'll continue to see it in the future. What do you think of the list?
Well, I'll just say right off the bat that having been a selector in the past, I'm not now, but it's hard, and ranking people is hard. Trying to make objective views on how a person plays, what they've done, um, and where they stand among the bowlers in Canada or the world, for that instance, it's hard. And I think Al does a commendable job. I think it's improved over the last few times. Obviously, there was a fair number of critiques on the first one, and rightly so. And this one, I mean, you can tell that the top 10 is usually fairly solid, and you could probably swap a few people up and down that list, but generally it's fairly good. The second half, um, between yourself, myself, Al, and probably a number of our viewers out there, we would have different people in those that second 10, so the 11 through 20. That doesn't necessarily mean any of them are super wrong. It's just, what do you value? Um, like, is the Canadians and gold medals, those Canadian championships hit? Like, that's your top world performances, um, even if you don't medal. Other events like U.S. Open, Central Opens and stuff, WOBA, big events in Canada, wherever it is. How do you rank those as well? And how you value those will just slide people up and down that list. So I thought it was pretty good, and I give my thumbs up. My top 20 is a little different, but so is everybody else's.
Yeah, and as I said, we're trying to get a conversation going, get people talking, maybe motivate some people. Like Cam's in the chat there saying that you need to get back on the national team so that he can get his ranking up. So maybe we're just directly tossing Cam down the list because we need to motivate him and get him riled up for next year, where he's gonna tear apart the Canadian Nationals. I've heard whisperings that he might be coming back to the Canadian Nationals next year, so maybe he'll come there and just destroy Scotty and make him look like an idiot for dropping him out of that top 5.
Uh, yeah, Cam and some of the other, I'll say both on the ladies and men's side, being on the national team didn't insulate you from the criticism and keep you up on that list. Al actually slid some people down and moved some other people up, so that was a surprising twist, but pretty cool if you think about it. Like, where are you putting your value, and what do you think the skill level of these people are? I've always said in the past that, and no offense to anybody out there, that the Canadian Championships isn't always the definitive mark for the top talent in Canada. We've got some excellent players in different provinces that there's just lacking that group of people that can play with them at that level, and they're out there, and they're still an excellent player. It's just, if you go to another province and you've got 4 players of that same caliber that should be on that list playing together, it makes it a little easier to get results than that other person. So it's interesting.
Spoken like a true former HPC selector.
Yeah. I have some hidden gems out there that I think are going to do some big things. I mean, we were just talking about the indoor. Look at Jerome Kirby, right? I think he's an excellent bowler and he does well in the indoor, but I don't think there's enough people in Manitoba at his level with what he wants to do for him to really put forward that super strong team to get places. Now, Manitoba, you can send me a bunch of hate mail, but just as an example.
On you're I think touching on something that our previous power list, Scotty and me speculated. Like we don't know if he has a solid team to play with or what his team game stuff is, because we haven't seen him at the majors for a couple of years now. But then obviously if you're doing pretty good on an indoor nationals back to back, you've got to be a pretty solid player. So good point. With sometimes you just don't have that solid team to play with, and it's difficult to get yourself to nationals and place well at nationals. But yeah, well said. Okay. Say, did we have anything more we really wanted to cover here tonight?
No, the stuff is winding down. I mean, I'm not gonna go over this too much. I saw some snow out today. Um, I know out in Saskatchewan, Alberta, there's been other sightings of snow and a lot more. But when I start seeing that, and I know everything is basically shut down, I start thinking about 2024, and just a shout out to all our viewers out there and everybody um, kind of shutting down for the winter. Start planning for 2024. There's a lot of changes coming in. Keep your ear to the ground on what's happening, where it's going to be, what's going down, because sooner you start planning and getting your teams together and all that stuff, the easier it's going to be. So now's the time to start planning. If you're going to do that, if you're not, then you might be behind the eight ball come next year.
I was gonna say, don't wait for the national host to be announced, because that's probably not going to be anytime soon. It sounds like there might be difficulties obtaining that national host, but don't be the person that gets caught behind the eight ball where you're waiting to see if something gets announced or whatever. If you want to give next year a try, give the new format a go, probably should be working on your team already and trying to solidify that type of info, because realistically, we're, as you're saying, approaching November. And once you kind of hit that new year, it is pretty quick to be spring again, and then you're right back into the season. So definitely get a planning, get preparing for next year.
Yeah, I mean, getting a four is hard enough. Getting a five is going to be even harder. And for those four teams that think, oh, we'll just add another person or add this type of person, those people are getting snapped up. Don't be thinking that other teams aren't getting out there and starting to put the pieces together and figure out how they're going to fit that five. So, yeah, get on it, get prepared. I hope to see a ton of strong teams out there. It should be the best against the best. It should be top players against top players. So let's see those super strong fives get to the Canadians and have an awesome year next year.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what it actually ends up being. To see the team that gets out of Ontario for your guys' one spot, and what other each provinces are able to throw together, because there are quite a few interesting groups of five that I could see being formed across the country. So it actually might be a ultra competitive nationals, and then to even have all the different events split up and everything, and probably that cumulative trophy to actually be worth something. Again, it will be a really cool change on the nationals. Or I actually would be excited to kind of compete for that every year, compared to the couple of years I think Saskatchewan's fluked into a Cy English. It's been just, we've had our pairs team and our fours team ended up doing well at the same time, type of a thing. So I feel like it's going to be much better. And from an Ontario perspective, I think Ontario's going to have a good shot at winning it more often, instead of having your two teams essentially split. And it's always a coin flip, it seems, to see if it was Ontario A or Ontario B that's doing well and in the gold medal game, type of thing. So having that one team, I think it's going to make that team overall trophy really the pinnacle, or a big thing for everyone to be playing for at the end of the week.
It is, and I think that's a great point. I'm really excited to see those two trophies repurposed to something that's a little more in your face. You see it year after year. It's like Alberta won it this year on the men's side. Did they win on the women's side too? I can't remember. It might have been Saskatchewan. I can't remember.
I think it was Saskatchewan.
Yeah. You hear about it and it's like, hey, great, Saskatchewan won it, and then next year I can't remember who won it unless I go back and look. Now it's that team of five. Whoever the best team of five is going to win the English and the Alexander, which is I think really cool, and it makes it a lot more meaningful. That's cool.
Definitely. Yep. Okay. Well, anything else you wanted to cover, Daryl?
No, I think that's it. I'm really interested to see, like you said, selection is going to be coming out soon. Who's on the team? I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about it, because this one is for 3 years. The last one was only for a year. It's 12, or potentially 12, I should say. on both sides, and hear the commentary on that. Because rankings has been a hot topic recently, as we all know if you're watching Facebook. So this falls right into that ranking talk.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the teams can end up being. We might have to even have it a impromptu episode or maybe an after dark. I don't know. I'm sure we'll probably throw something together once the team's announced and maybe have a couple of days to sink in type of thing, and maybe talk about it on our next time we go live.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we had planned. So one last reminder, if you are here, please do hit the like, comment, subscribe button. It really does help us. So please hit those buttons. We thank you a million times over. With that, happy Halloween, and may all your bowls be touchers.